resources, array fresh,
Yo, what's
everything
up,
that they
everybody?
need here to
Today,
continue
it's
on
gonna
towards the
be,
end game. But you see Nigel Angel a little bit towards the
we're
high
just gonna
ground, but
be
how long can they
watching,
hold as now they're going to have to push forward.
you know,
Tavern and
some
Nico, they know it's not
FNCS.
possible.
So,
They're going to drop down, trying to
yeah,
recycle
let's
those
watch.
builds from the low ground. But it's Nigel and Angel. They're trying to follow suit because of these high elevations.
The rotate begins. I love actually what they're doing here. Going behind their opponents, not using the build, using the sprint mechanic, using the matching mechanic, get themselves in the zone, and now building a little bit to stay up top, stay closer to the high ground in case they want to take it later on. I mean, being in the 6th place spot, they're so close to that prize. As we can see, Epic Whale has lost Arkham, now playing as a solo. They do have 4 eliminations, but to make up for it, they want to get placement as well. And Epic Whale did it last game. He made the clutch happen as a solo, but is he going to be able to do it again?
Yep, luckily for them, they had a 29-point lead over 2nd place coming into this game. So any point Epic Whale picks up here is an effort of holding on to their position, but he gets beamed from above, but he's trying to separate himself throughout all that chaos that is on the bottom layer. Batman, Booga, and Wheels, you heard Panda talking about it. A historic comeback is necessary. It's the young player, Batman Booga, that needs to have his head held high throughout this process, but Epic Well knows exactly what needs to be done. You talked about him being as a solo, chug splashes, floppers, minis. He can do actually anything that he wants, including staggering backside of zone, but for now, he's going to stay ahead.
I mean, he has everything he needs to make it happen. 70 mats, floppers, splashes, you said it, but you got to be careful when your opponents know you're a solo. They're going to play extra aggressive against you, so Epic Whale might be forced to play a bit behind zone here, rotate late, as Favs and Snacky still have the high ground. Will this be the match that they're able to make it happen? Epic Whale has gone down. That was the 1st place team, so now Snacky Favs could even take that spot as they keep applying pressure down below. Snacky, we know how he loves to play aggressive on the high ground, drop down, look for elims. Gonna split his ammunition here with his duo partner as Rex, currently on 6 eliminations. Going for the shots, going for the wall replaces, and it looks like they're making it happen.
Trying to just get in everybody's boxes as quick as possible. Take the teams out one by one. Punisher staggering backside of zone, though. Reet now forced to fight inside as he's going to finally make his way out. He has the flopper, so HP not going to be a worry here as you see the elimination feed being lit up. Yuumi, Wheels, all these players getting dropped here and leaving up to solos as Reet finally finding some shots. Shields being dwindled, but if he can take a moment here, if he can find the time to find some comfortability, Shields will not be a worry because he has more than enough to get himself back up. It's the lack of builds that's the worry to me.
Using the mini shields, using the big shields, making sure they're back to a good amount of effective HP as they have Yazzie or Kevin right above them. Just one pickaxe away to breaking into their builds, but instead of the pickaxe going in straight with that combat SMG, gonna get knocked though. Now it's all up to Rex as well. He's gonna go down. Snacky actually gonna take them out from the high ground to the low ground. Snacky now with 5 eliminations.
This is literally the blueprint, the plan that we've seen throughout the weekend. Favs being the pressure putter from the high ground. Snacky being the fighter towards the low ground. They reunite to kind of be hip to hip to make sure they're at tip-top shape before they go at it once more. But Victor V, one of the youngest players here with a family on his side, trying to find his way. 5 eliminations. Squishy in the comb, trying to squeak through some extra placements. Every point here is huge as Snacky takes a big blow, reunites with Favs once again. One of the strongest duos left in the game.
Every point matters as Snacky is continuing his wrath, looking for those shots, looking for the angles as Russo is going to get tagged but not cracked. But Snacky knows if he plays a bit too aggressive, it could get dangerous. He could end up getting knocked down, so he's keeping his space here as Favs helps him out there, securing one of the eliminations. Now they're up to 7, going back up on the high ground as Squishy tried taking it, but he gets cracked, gets taken out by Snacky, gives him that 6th elimination, and they take down Kido as well, securing the victory royale.
10 eliminations total from the duo. Arkham and Epic win game number 1 to start the day. They're in first. They go down here in game number 2, game number 8 overall. And guess who wins it? Favs and Snacky. So a race for the FNCS championship continues to stay interesting.
Snacky and Favs were able to hold the high ground. Not like in game 1, they learned from the mistakes of taking it early, but now they took it at a good time and actually held it out through the whole late game, securing that victory royale. And now Jacob, I mean, Arkham and Epic Whale got eliminated in one of the kind of mid-moving zones, so they might be catching up to them on that leaderboard.
Yep, and a race this close, it just takes a moment towards the end game to go down earlier than you would hope in order to kind of lose your spot. But Russo and Keto, I talked about that last half of day number 2, they continue to put the pressure on, but I don't even know who has first place. Fab, Snacky, Arkham, Epic, Reet, Rex. We have a great analyst desk, and they're the only ones I trust. Let's break it down.
Patience, Jacob. We have a few moments before we can look at our top 10 leaderboard right now, but I know I'm really excited to see because Fabs and Snacky, a double-digit elimination. And I love what Takata was saying. They learned from their mistakes from the last game, holding height, but being a bit more aware of their surroundings, Panda.
Yeah, a bit more aware. I mean, that was the best way to put it, right? They took zone at the, or height at the appropriate time. They made sure to watch the zones as they were unfolding, and they held high ground really effectively. You see Snacky go drop down, re-secure high ground, and also hold a bit of a spread here on height, which is what kind of kept them secure, right? It also awarded them some of these great eliminations that potentially launched them into first.
Definitely. I mean, time and time again, we see these height takes kind of get in the game with like 6 eliminations. They started off taking height eliminations, grabbing 8 more eliminations over the next 2 zones play.
Yeah, and that's because Snacky plays height a different way. Hey, Panda said it, right? But if you take a look at that the last 2 zones, you'll see Snacky start to just drop down. Well, Fabs is up above, securing high ground. They said, Snacky, go down, get us some elims, and he did.
And we obviously got to talk about the top team going down, not necessarily early, but earlier than they would like. Arkham and Epic Whale, and I'm still feeling like they might be in our first place spot. We'll have to do a few highlights like that last game there.
Yeah, and they're fighting well, right? Again, they're box to box. They're looking for things, and they're looking great. I love the fact that they're playing together, and that even if they aren't, they're still trying to make plays happen. Epic still going towards high ground. Has a solo. Definitely pushing to use all of his heals here, as he does get a little bit too over aggressive with his push, and you see high ground there. So player change coming out, but
It is only an 8-point difference between first and second place. And after that, jump up 4 places. That is a 70-point difference between second and third. There is only 4 games in Canada.
Listen, we've seen some incredible games throughout all the regions, right, where they get literally 50, 60, 70 points in one game. So I'm not counting any of these other teams out, but that is a really significant lead. So for players like Rex, they need to take the same approach to the last game. They need to really focus on elimination in the end game.
And they still did. They got 6 eliminations in that game. They still did a good job. But when you have these 2 fighting at top, what else do you do?
you honestly have to hope that they fall early. That's really all you can is play for your game and hope that they fall early. That way, play this with Reed and Rex and get rewarded even more. Because look at that. They predicted that player running through that edit. Coming through, and it just looked so white. Like everything was going so well. One moment that we will see that ended up getting them separated, them getting split up. But still, look at how well he's fighting. He's going in these boxes like he's seen him before. But I think Panda said it well yesterday. He's got to control that aggression. And that is where, right here, is unfortunate. You see, goes in, gets a little bit too aggressive, and that's where they go down.
And quick. If I see Reet and Rex split, I'm not necessarily worried, right? Because they could both turn into insane solo clutch like fraggers in their own right, despite Reet being the IGL here. So regardless of the case, even if they are solo players and they are split, whatever the case may be, they are still powerhouse, and they still have plenty of opportunities to pick up some points. But we can't count out North Benji Fishy or Foxity either.
That's true, but I am just looking at our top 2 teams right now. 45 eliminations, 44 eliminations, and 2 victory royales each. They got the fragging, they got the placements, they got everything, Clay.
And it's actually pretty close. Like, if it were to, like, end here, they're pretty close to tiebreakers, right? You got 2 victory royales each. They're about the same on eliminations. So it's interesting, like, Epic Well wins the game, Team Fav's win a game. Epic Whale's gonna win a game. Second Fav's gonna win a game. So that's kind of how I see it going. I'm intrigued.
I actually want to talk about something that you talked at the top of the show where you kind of predicted their rotations.
Yeah, so if you go back and watch that game from Epic Whale and Arkham, they do the exact same rotation that I did in top of show. They went to a shifty, they waited there, they had zone the entire time.
Well, talk a little bit more about the benefits of that because they did an early rotation, right?
Yeah, they did an early rotation, so usually that means they're going to miss out on 2 encounters in Coney Crossroads because 2 teams will usually rotate through there, meaning they get to save a lot of their mats, so they get to sit there, save their mats, wait for endgame, and show.
But something that we've seen back in Chapter 2 that they had an issue with is storm surge tags when they do rotate early. So how are they able to kind of negate that this time around?
Well, it really depends on where they position themselves in Shifty Shafts because there is a really nice hill spot that actually overlooks several POIs like Sleepy Sound and so on. So there's definitely good positions around Shifty to get surge tags. However, it's a tough call. You never know where these other players are going to rotate to.
You know what else is a tough call? Which team will come out on top this time around? Will it be Favs and Snacky, Arkham and Epic Whale, or maybe a new team? You know who can answer that question? It's Jacob and Takada.
Game number 9, third on the day, and this is where you could really feel that window of opportunity begin to close if you're one of those teams that are bottom of the leaderboard. But you heard the game of ping pong at the top. Favs and Snacky, Arkham and Epic. All it takes is one moment for them to kind of steal it away.
I mean, I love the storyline, right? Is Epic Whale and Arkham gonna be able to get that 7X, or is Snacky and Favs gonna be able to get the back-to-back duo FNCS championship? I mean, we really just gotta wait and find out, see what happens. Snacky and Favs now currently in the lead with the #1 spot, winning the last match, but you never know. Epic Whale and Arkham, they might take this one.
Yeah, this is a great chance for people to really cement their legacy here when it comes to FNCS. And you saw at the top of the show, but the battle bus is ready. Game number 9 is underway, but at the top of the show, Takada, in-person events are back. And this is a moment for these players to make their case for those events, and they want their spot. It starts now.
To show that not only can they do it online, but also in person. I mean, it's a different field out there, and I'm excited to see which players are going to be able to really make it happen here, as now we can see the duos come in. Not only Snacky and Favs, Arkham Epic battling it out on the top, there's also a lot of these duos that are close by, close to that threshold, that with just one big game can get back into that top spot of the leaderboard. So it's up to these players to see who's going to be the one that comes out on top.
Yeah, and just kind of remind you guys that it's not just first place getting money. It's first place that only gets the Axe of Champions, so don't get me wrong there. But every single placement earns you more and more money directly into your pockets as Chip goes down early on. You can see the focus on Lime's face. He realized what's at stake here. 36th place. It's going to be a huge game if he's able to pull out the reboot, get his teammate right back into it, because Chip is not out just yet. He's just knocked. If you look at your minimap, not too many teams getting aggressive trying to take advantage.
Yeah, the issue here is that there's that third party from Chicken and Jesus here on the east side of Chonkers. So if Lime and Chip take too long in this engagement against Fikoy and Zayrez, I mean, that third party is incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, it's going to be dangerous for these guys. But like I was talking about their game plan, they don't go too aggressive. They don't put all their eggs into the basket of taking out the teams around Chonkers. They try to play that slow, passive game, take away the options. As Dynamic and Rexy talk about the aggression, that's 3 for 3 so far that they're taking the same early game fight, but this time the fight was brought to them. Vex and Apar knows they cannot continue to remain on the back foot off of spawn, and that's why you see them instantly matting up, trying to get aggressive, peeking from the low ground. Must have been experts at geometry to find an angle like that.
Vex and Apar want to play on the aggressive side of the battle this time as they look for an angle to the box, but you got to be careful. It's that drum shotgun annihilating both players here. Apar and Vex now down to very low HP. Luckily enough, Vex has a flopper, heals himself back up, but he gets knocked down. Apar he knocked down as well shortly after. Now Rexy and Dynamic coming out on top, but that was so close, Jacob.
It's all in the hips, Takata. It's all in the hips. You stay hip to hip together, drop into the same box. Dynamic and Rexy making magic happen yet again to keep their tournament games alive and keep as much control over their destiny as possible. but a team that is holding on to that control. Redemption after last season, a huge comeback after what happened in the qualifiers, waiting to the last moment to qualify, and you see Arkham is in 4th in total eliminations. So you can see what they've been able to do to a lot of the lobby, to where they're both in the top 6 in total eliminations in the entire game.
So close, Jacob. All these players head-to-head, battling it out as Thoric here is making some coffee in the kitchen, but gonna actually take one down in the meantime as Russo gets knocked down. 2 versus 1 now. Crisis Thoric here gets the crack, gets the initial shot onto his opponent. Now with the advantage, not only being at HP, but also the player advantage. They just have to make this fight end quickly so they don't get a third party or don't get anything too dangerous. But right as I speak, Gripus is going to get cracked from an opposing duo.
And Kito's doing everything he can to try to stay alive. I talked about the legendary run they're making from game number 4 and on yesterday. But there's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can run here. And they're going to get dropped. Have to rethink about it. But that's Jaden and Victor V coming in the distance, trying to get their own surge and their own eliminations underneath their belt so they can have a comeback of their own. For some of these teams, it's about the money. Every single placement that we're talking about gets you more and more of that prize pool.
Snacky Faz now, you can see how comfortable they are with their drops here at the Collider, not being necessarily contested. I mean, their side of the Collider is open. There are some duos close by, but so far they haven't got into engagements with them. They've played it pretty passively in the early game, looting up, farming up, but maybe this might be the match. This Kompalomp and his duo partner, Seer, they're close by, and Faz is kind of taking a peek, taking an eye, looking for that Storm Surge like Clay was saying.
Yeah, I was about to say deja vu. That feeling was absolutely real. Literally down to the same exact spot to where we saw him in that breakdown. But you can see the plan once again from Fabs and Snacky. They want to get themselves all the resources in the world. When you're going ahead and cooking, you want every single item on your list. So that way you don't have to run to the store halfway through. Your meal gets burnt. Everything comes crumbling down.
Every single ingredient as Rex and Reet are completing their grocery list here. Got the tires, got the loot, got everything they need, but I believe Panda has some information for us, Jacob. I'm curious to see what he has to say.
What's going on? Look, Reet and Rex here have a very unique position. Despite them being in 3rd place, they still need to get quite a few eliminations to climb. But the smart play here from them is that they are spending enough time looting and getting a proper loadout for the mid and end game so they can let those eliminations come to them. So we're going to be watching them pretty closely.
Fantastic breakdown. I don't care who it is, Clay, Panda, they're always making sure that everybody knows exactly what to do in a lot of these situations, knowing when to rotate, when not to, and you can see exactly what he said. Now they're going and taking the Whiplash. One of very few cars left on the map in order to go ahead and rotate to, and that's actually going to be a big tool for them as you see the zone pulling a little bit more towards the north, towards the eastern portion of the map, and that's where you're going to see a lot of the rotation match what they did yesterday. So if you guys are one of those players, one of those teams that likes to VOD review, you're going to see they're going to go from Greasy, take that eastern portion, go all the way around and try to go towards the slow side, because what we talked about, the Collider, Command Cavern, those are where a lot of the teams are rotating through.
Snacking fast, we're not rotating. Finding some nice little loot, some splashes as they continue to rotate, and also adding on a bit to what Panda was saying regarding eliminations. I mean, sometimes you might need a bit of points, for example, qualify or get that position you want, and you think to yourself, I need a game with a lot of eliminations, Jacob. I need a 10 elim victory royale, but it might just not be the play to play that extra aggressive, because you can get those eliminations in the late game, but might be difficult for Rex and Reet in this match, as Reet has been taken down, and now Rex is actually getting pushed by a duo. He's down a player, looking to see if he can clutch it up in the 1 versus 2. It's on one. It's Evol.
You can see it. They got tired of not having those launch pads. That's why they made their way down to the Butter Barn to try to get that launch pad that you can buy. But once you switch up your strategy, you pull out some tricks, it could cost you if it isn't something that you practice up until this point. But for Rex, he's no stranger of fighting from the back foot. He knows what needs to be done here. Patient as can be, but the shots rain in from those third parties. You can see him on your mini-map. They're trying to beeline there for them. It's not only the eliminations, it's the Butter Barn launch pad. If anybody is going to be the last team standing at this location, they're going to get so much.
Evol chopping down, trying to drop Rex here, trying to get an opportunity to connect the shot onto him, looking above, looking to see is Rex gonna peek. Is Rex gonna look for an angle, but on one, got tired of waiting, started building up, looking for the angle himself as he starts getting tagged from the opposing duos, the opposing players outside this battle, this engagement. On one, continuing to build up as Rex does the same now, so high up. Zone is even closing, 50 seconds, so it's fully closed. This engagement is getting more and more dangerous as Rex has been cracked. On one, continuing, gets the shot, taking out Rex, and now they have to drop down, have to get out of this situation after using so many materials and building up so high, Jacob. I mean, was it worth the elimination?
And you can see in the distance it was Lime and Chip making that safe rotation on over from Chonker Speedway. They said trying to cut off a lot of teams' loot pass in their way to try to crown themselves or get that much money in their pockets. See Snacky in the elimination feed, getting a knock onto Sharkboy. Bacon and Zook setting up as much of the high ground towards Coney and Daily Bugle, right dab in the middle to make sure anybody crossing their path is going to become a target. But Favs and Snacky, they know how much rotation is around the Collider. I talked about them getting a knock early on, and now they're looking for it as Sharkboy does go down. They're going to find all that loot, and now this choice is still theirs. Even though they are on the Collider, there's so much rotation. They can wait until the last moment to kind of leave this spot.
Favs here looting up the rest of what they got from that engagement here. And they actually now have a Victory Royale in 6 straight finals, which is the longest active streak in NA West.
6 straight finals. You can expect them to get a game. Honestly, through the qualifiers, they were picking up some big wins. They were setting some big records in tournament eliminations as well. So they definitely are a team to look out for. And honestly, rightfully so. Multi-time FNCS champions, reigning, defending FNCS champions. Honestly, we were all scratching our head during the predictions how they even got slipped through without getting picked by any of us.
Really still curious on how that actually happened, how that ended up happening, but I mean, it is what it is. Epic Whale and Arkham, you can see them using the multi-tower positioning here in Cody Crossroads to have more angles while looking for Storm Surge. As we go back to Punisher and Landjock, one of the most veteran duos in these finals. 169 points in a nice place spot. Rotated all the way from the southwest side of the map at the windmills by Greasy Grove. Now up to the Sanctuary. So they've had to do quite a rotate here, seeing it's only second zone, but so far they're doing a good job.
Doing a good job indeed, but that's their game plan. They don't kind of make those high risk, high reward situations. It's kind of slow and steady for them. You talk about their tenure when it comes to Fortnite and being a duo together. Their sneaky play looking like it's going to build up. School and Kinzo trying to hide in the bush, and that's something we've already seen from Beast and Tao Tai today alone, but that build is going to give away their position on over to Wale and Source. But everybody's in zone, and this is what I like. Even though they could be kind of banging heads against each other, trying to get that elimination, they know being the last person standing is more important than a one-off elimination.
And you can get those eliminations in the late game, just like Panda was saying. That's when most of the action happens, so you really just need to make it to the end game healthy with enough damage for Storm Surge, and that is where you can secure a majority of your eliminations. Snacky and Favs are getting shot at by their opponents there, and I almost thought there that Snacky was going to get a little aggressive, but no. He just wanted a bit of fruit. I mean, it's good to stay healthy.
It definitely is, and that's a teamwork that we keep talking about from this duo. He spotted it in the distance. He knew Fabs took damage, so he wants to kind of save as many of those important resources as possible. And important includes the chug splashes, the minis, the shield keg. If you want to save those for a little bit later on in the game, because we've seen it so many times. At this stage, 17 players need to go down to Storm Surge. If you choose to out heal it too early, that could be your demise. But you see Tavern and Nico throughout their qualification process, it was setting up, getting Surge, rotating in, and letting those eliminations that we keep talking about that naturally present itself towards the end game come to fruition.
Letting those eliminations roll in is what Nico and Tavern want right now, being 5 damage below the Storm Surge, but Angel and Nigel might need Surge as well. Yes, they're 211 below, and looking at that aggression from them, you can tell they need a lot. Going for a box fight, going for that CQC, close quarter combat, as Nigel holds the edit, holds the peak, but with Angel here and refresh their mentality, go again together, see if they can make something happen here. But their opponents, they know that they want that aggression, and they're staying a bit safe here, staying back.
Yep. Peace Controller trying to come in. They're just trying to take it layer by layer, inch by inch, close down the options of their opponent. 271 below the damage threshold. It's absolutely needed as the pieces are not going over just yet. Angel finally holding in. They're using their teamwork to try to make this dream work, but still below the damage threshold. So much more that they need to do. But it's Kalabuka and Solution that are being the defensive end. They know Storm Surge is possibly a worry for their opponents, which is why they're trying everything they can to get into the box. And if you know your opponent is down on Surge, you could play defensively in a way to where you could tag them, force them back, and still hold on to the walls as Storm Surge continues to tick in.
I mean, that's the best way to play it, right? Wait till your opponents get cracked. You hear that shield being broken, and then, you know, you have the advantage. You just have to take that engagement in a nice way too. But Angel actually might have just been gifted some damage here as these last two players rotating in. Have been some free shots, but it wasn't enough. Still 281 below. I mean, might even be too much damage to get with their burst assault rifle here, and they will have to go for that close quarters aggression once again. It just has not been successful so far.
Yeah, the only gift they got was like a Secret Santa at work. They need it to be Christmas. They need more of these gifts that you were talking about in the form of the damage for Storm Surge as they're trying to out-heal it. 4 more players need to go down, make it 3 as FJAA goes down in the distance. You see School, Kinzo, they meet their demise. Cheaters as well, but it's still not enough. And that goes to show how stacked this lobby actually is.
Snacky Fabs with 2 eliminations, 365 above. There's a duo that's doing very well with damage as Angel and Nigel still on the left side of the screen looking to get that damage so far below, but Snacky and Fabs are doing a great job of staying consistent, staying above.
These players finally go down. Storm Surge is going to deactivate for now. I say for now because you know how stacked the lobby can be at all times of the game. Storm Surge is always going to be in the back of players' minds as Trey and Dom go back to the lobby thanks to Beast and Tautai. But Snacky and Fabs continuing to play that slow and steady game. And you can see Physics right before we switch trying to sneak up in the distance. Bacon and Zooks continuing their consistent and steady game, going for the surge, not forcing any of these plays to try to get any eliminations because they know, just like so many of our experts in the lobby, that it's just a matter of time and those eliminations will come to you.
Those eliminations are so important, Jacob. 3 points per elimination. It really can be a game changer. You get to that late game securing double-digit eliminations. We've seen it happen, and it's really what boosts these duos so far up that leaderboard alongside the Victory Royale. There's now Zuki's Bacon, one of the most consistent duos, continuing to show that consistency, getting tags throughout all the players rotating in. Epic Whale and Arkham, 0 eliminations, but they're looking for the damage. They've been doing it right now, actually, with 8 chug splashes. Feeling healthy, feeling good. I mean, they're ready to heal it off.
Yep. Lots of maps as well, but you see 285 below the damage threshold. Yeah, Seer, Kevin peeking into the wrong person's box as back-to-back shots are going to be landed. But when you're that far down on Surge, you need miracle plays. And even though he was able to land 1 shot, he was so far down, the damage wasn't enough, and the pressure was there from Kevin and Yasir to survive what looked like a close exchange. But you could see Cypers going down for now in the elimination feed. But because nobody got a knock, this could be a great chance for his duo to get him back up.
North Benji Fishy and Faxity here, farming up, making sure they have the required resources. I mean, a great way to get that, especially in the later zones, like the 4th zone that they're in now, is instead of boxing up on somewhere on the map, just rotate to a building, to a place you can refarm up, get the materials. Wheels, Batman, Booga, doing the same thing here, refarming the metal, refarming the brick, and making sure they have as many materials as possible for the next zone. But if you're one of these duos that you can see on the bottom right of the minimap on the north side here that have to do that long southern rotate to get into the zone, I mean, you're definitely going to need the material to do so.
Yep. It's going to be a hard one for a lot of these players. And you're going to see him peek it through the cone. His Wheels probably trying to get that vital information. Look who possibly will be needing to use a launch pad that they can recycle, but it's On1 and Evil. Keep setting themselves up with these early game eliminations. They're finding that recipe for success as they continue to stay consistent, and even an Armored Wall can't stop a duo like this because they have all the time in the world, and the piece control is going to go over. Mr. Lokes is going to get backed up. They know he's a solo, and they waste no time picking up that elimination.
On1 and Evil, I mean, throughout this whole tournament, doing such an amazing job of just fighting together. taking these engagements as a duo and really coming out on top. I mean, they've been doing it in the early game, mid game, and really setting themselves up for that late game, and that's why they're so high up in the leaderboard. Is Zukis and Bacon, another duo that's been incredibly consistent. Only 23 damage above, now 6 below. So you got to be careful and always looking for that tag, that extra bit of damage as Rays and Pars are down below, taking some shots as well, but it could be the opportunity that grants them that damage to go above the threshold, but they have to take it here because they're still below.
Yeah, I gotta imagine Pars and Rays possibly in a similar situation. But you see Zukis and Bacon, as soon as they realize the spot they're in, they backtrack. They build 2 boxes wide. They're taking control of all the pieces because they know if worse comes to worse, push comes to shove, they can attempt to out-heal it with only 12 players needing to go down, but they see all the information, all the players, the fresh builds going down, the possibility of shots are gonna reign true as Arkham and Epic under siege for a short moment, but they too spreading out. It's the piece control. It's the control of the surrounding area that's allowing for a lot of these duos to survive elimination.
Lanjok Punisher have not too many resources, not too much damage either, as they're 196 below, and it forces them to take a dangerous engagement onto Andy and Chicken as Lanjok gets knocked down. Now Punisher forced to play it out solo here. No, he's using the Med Mist. 1 mini shield, but I don't know if he's going to be able to hold off. Still 141 below. I mean, Jesus and Chicken, they really have too much of an advantage here, but Punisher he's out of options.
Yeah, even though he's out healing, I like for him to not use the shield because as soon as it comes in, they're gonna hear the crack. They're gonna hear that he's weak and he continues to fall below the he can only take 2 more ticks, but he finds a couple of shots. Is it going to be enough? That's the big question, because if it's not, he's got to meet his demise, and Punisher goes down. Chicken and Jesus are going to be able to pick up all that loot of the fallen foe and be able to use it to propel themselves later on in the game.
Pars and Rays here at 45 below, trying to out-heal it, as Epic Whale has lost Arkham once again. Now, forced to play it out as a solo for the 3rd time here, 547 above the Storm Surge threshold now, playing it out just from the 5th zone, the half and half zone, but he might just be able to find a knock, but no, Batman Booga barely escaping his way through, but will he be able to fully do it as there's still 20 seconds left until this zone closes?
Yeah, you can see the thought process. Epic Whale knows that Batman Booga's wheel weak. Here, the launch pad tries to recycle it, but so much damage is going to be taken from the Storm, but luckily for him, he has at least 5 splashes left, more than enough to get him to tip-top shape, but he's still backside of zone, trying to find that sweet spot, and a lot of his mats looking a little low and thin as he's trying to go ahead and create another layer forward. This is where it is going to get tricky. Right now, they do have some elevation, but they're going to fall below that elevation and have to work their way down.
Such a dangerous situation for Epic Whale. You can see the nerves start to kick in there as he was rotating, but now he's used up all of his stronger materials, his brick, his metal, now forced to use wood. We'll see if Epic Whale is able to clutch it out as a solo, but in the meantime, we still have Pars Rays, still have Snacky Favs, Convict, Slick Nick, Evol on one. All these duos beginning to rotate as we take a look at North Benji Fish.
Well, that will be the end of the video. Goodbye.